Well, the good news here is the Tauktae has already begun decreasing a little bit in strength. We see that in the last hour, we've gone from 140 miles per hour to 130 miles per hour. So we were getting close to 200 kilometer per hour gusts near the center of the storm, and a lot of damaging winds already, especially when we had a closer to land eye wall here. But again, we're getting very close to land again. Landfall is going to be coming in the next few hours. Right now it is being forecast for 8 a.m. and that is UTC time. So locally it will actually be afternoon in this area. But this is no more than just about an hour away right now. So we will be seeing a lot of videos coming through with more damage to houses and more flood surge coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and play out the radar here. And I just found this tool. I haven't used this one before. It's new to me. So it won't take off the satellite. Let's see how I'll do this. Turn off the satellite and see the radar only. So there must be something wrong with this radar in this part of the world. I'll zoom out and see why. I don't know why. There's a lot more rain with this storm actually. So the rain bands are already being felt near where there will be landfall. So it looks like this is just back a little bit on the play toggle. And there we go. So a new tool that I'm using on Zoom Earth that has a lot of new features that I'm enjoying, that I'm not able to find some of the things in here that I am able to find in the United States. So it's not giving us all the way up to the moment where we see the storm intensify, and it's missing a lot of other radar. So it's probably a satellite issue that it doesn't actually fill in everything. But on the satellite view of just the radar, it was doing a fine job. So these are the outer bands that are now overlapping Una. I'll see how good this particular place, this map does with names, because right next to Una is where we should be seeing landfall. I had been forecasting anywhere between Una and Dwarka some days ago. It was actually, I was looking all the way up to the northern part of Gujarat here. But in fact, it is closer to Una that the landfall is coming in at. And I'll go ahead and look at some steering winds just to give an idea of how and why. And I had already done this on a live stream earlier on my green screen, if you want to go back and look at that. But now I'll do it just a little bit closer up, and so zoomed in, plus being closer to landfall. So these results are going to be much closer. Looking really close here, 600 millibars is where we're at. So this is where we begin to see the steering winds for these storms. Now out ahead of the storm, where it's been moving, and before that is where we'll look to see where it's getting steered to. And at this level, there's just a little bit of westward pull still on the outskirts of the storm. Going up a little bit higher, still westward, but then on the eastern side, we're seeing more northward. So this is where we'll get the flood surge east of the eye wall. All the water will be pushing up. So Una and eastward will be experiencing flood surge. So I'll zoom in on this here and also play this out a little bit so you can get an idea of what I mean. The eye wall itself will have very calm winds, and over here the storm will actually be blowing water away from sea. So some areas will look like they are at extremely low tide at this time here in just a couple of hours, while east of the eye wall, east of Una, and even as far away as then again the eastern coast of another state, not Gujarat, but all the way very far east, we're going to be seeing effects of this storm pushing floodwater up. And then anything that's running into the hills, I will show the satellite again to give an idea of how much moisture there is on the infrared. The dark red is a ton of moisture. That's where it's really going to be flooding. So even after landfall, there will be a storm surge here just to the east. There will be rain, But then behind that, as this storm continues to go north and northeast, there's these bigger plumes of moisture that have had a ton of moisture, which, by the way, we're also watching an invest south of the storm that could be developing into another cyclone in the days to come. That would be placed right around here. So as this passes by, it's not going to be raining just for that day, just for those hours, but for about 2.5 days. So once you start feeling the effects of the storm, imagine that it's going to continue and probably get worse in many of these regions as far as the flooding is concerned. So what happens here, you'll notice that some of these storm cells will come onto land and get even stronger when they run into mountains. So there's a lot of hills and topography in Gujarat also that will be playing a role here in starting to disorganize the storm, but also creating a lot of rain, just a ton. So be ready for flooding in this region and the heavy winds. I really hope people have been able to evacuate. I know there are already trees down as far away as we're talking over here, you know, where these outer bands are, hundreds of miles from the eye wall hours ago. Trees on tops of cars blocking roads to hospitals, for instance, and that was the state right here. And so things are going to be worse for Gujarat, unfortunately. We will be seeing effects with tropical storm force winds as far as the gusts are concerned, and some flooding as far as Pakistan. And then the storm will be moving further up to the northeast in the coming days. So I'll go ahead with playing out a model on the wind gusts, because I've noticed that when I'm using this model, the European here, it's the best resolution. It gives me the better forecast tracks normally, what I'm normally agreeing with. But beyond that, what I really like about this one is that we have been agreeing with what the storm's saying is going to happen. So to give an idea of where those tropical storm force winds are, everything in blue, this far inland, it's going to take a while for this storm to stop being so strong. Really, it's had a lot of time with a lot of hot water and a lot of energy to gain the strength. It's going to take quite a while for it to dwindle away now. So all of this in the white is extremely strong, extremely damaging. Structures that are not made of stone or very sturdy, reinforced, larger pieces of wood, they will likely be destroyed. Hundreds of homes have already been destroyed. So I hope that everybody's already evacuated, because at this point, we're already seeing tropical storm force winds along the coast. These can be up to 60 miles per hour right now in Una and in some neighboring cities. And then as the hours go on, it's going to get worse and worse. So if you're already worried and you're realizing you need to leave and it's already too late, be very, very careful trying to get somewhere safe. For instance, there were people last year in the storm that was in the Bay of Bengal that I was talking to, and as they were running for shelter right over here, a similar storm was approaching. A child had gotten hit on the head and killed by falling tree branch. So be very careful with the lightning. You don't want to be next to a tree during this sort of a storm, and also with strong gusty winds like what we're seeing here. It could be in the tropical storm force wind area zone, and then all of a sudden get a 60-mile-an-hour gust that breaks down a tree and it can fall on top of something or on a human and actually account for deaths. So that is actually a major contributor to storm deaths, and 90% of these deaths actually occur from drowning. So be careful that you're not around these waters. The surges coming, and then the flooding from down the hills will be next. So again, before I close off, I'll go ahead and take a look at, here we go, right now with the track products, because what I liked most about this is that I was able to go to right now and get that list of everything here. So 130 miles per hour last we checked, that's about 170 kilometers per hour. Down just a little bit, there were a little bit of cooler waters. My previous forecasts, I put up the water temperatures, and this is a little bit of a cooler zone where it had been expected that this would become a category 2. As we get closer to landfall, even a little bit cooler on the water temperature, so that will be one more reason for it to calmed down just a little bit ahead of landfall, but this right here is still being forecast to be a major hurricane, is what it would be considered in America. 111 miles per hour is the threshold for our major hurricane status, and this is 1 mile per hour below that. So technically it wouldn't, but it's right there. And so this is going to be very detrimental to a lot of people there. And I'm really hoping the best for everybody. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now and let you know that if you want any more added information, if you want to get a hold of me, you can find me on Facebook too. And here I'm able to receive messages. So go ahead and find me if you'd like to follow severe weather around the world, including space weather. So sometimes I'll cover earthquakes. But also so that if you want to communicate with me or share photos or any videos of what's going on or things that you might need during these storms, you can put that in the comments or send me a message here on Weather Woman on Facebook. I hope everybody can get through the storm okay. I'm sorry for everybody who's there and dealing with this right now. I know it's a scary situation, and I really hope people are prepared and evacuated. Luckily, people were told to stop fishing and to get into shelters. So I'm just waiting it out, hoping for the best for everybody here, because this is nothing small. One more zoom out before I head out, and you can see that this is about half the size of India. A humongous storm. So best wishes to all, and we'll be updating right here.